Alright, welcome back to the SuperCoach Nuff channel. In this video we're going to do our round 4 preview for NRL SuperCoach for the 2024 season. So going off a little bit early and recording this on Wednesday afternoon, but I guess there's a fair bit to talk about, and I am pretty excited about my moves this week. So I'm going to put it out there. I don't know if I'll put the video out straight away. It'll probably be Thursday morning. But I guess, get some thoughts on it perhaps before lockout would be pretty interesting to see. But as usual with our preview, we'll kick off with the most popular trading options. Actually, let's start again. Alright, welcome back to the SuperCoach Nuff channel. In this video we're going to look at the round preview for round 4 of the 2024 NRL SuperCoach season. So recording this on the Wednesday afternoon, so there may be some late mail tomorrow, but I guess I'm quite excited about the moves I want to make this week, and I couldn't wait any longer. So I thought let's get the recording done and can get the video out a little bit earlier. I guess obviously watching this Thursday morning at the time of publishing for some feedback. But as usual, we'll go through the most popular options in terms of trades and captaincy. So on the trade out list, there's quite a few heavily traded options here, with Nathan Cleary at the top. This is one I definitely understand. However, I think that he may be back sooner than we expect. So there's been some mixed reports. He could miss 4 weeks. He could miss as little as 1 week. So I guess because it's unclear and some of the other injuries are a bit longer term, I'm probably more inclined to hold Cleary. I did talk about in my tops and chops video, if you are trading out Cleary, I'm not sure if there's a clear and obvious option. I'd suggest maybe if you have a dual position option like a Drew Hutchinson, or when we look in the trade-ins list, there is an alternate option. That could certainly work, but realistically, I think Clear is one that we want, and I don't know if it's worth 2 trades, given that there's plenty of other options, and both in terms of trading out and trading in, where we can potentially cover for Cleary's absence. So, not one I agree with, but understandable. Big Tino at number 2 obviously is a cut, ACL out for the season. Absolutely makes sense, which is a shame given, he is so expensive and for most people in the front row. So, with Payne Haas also out, who's another, I guess, one that you could trade out. Big questions about how you fill those holes in your front row. Reece Walsh is, yes, agree, trade him out. Too much money sitting on the bench for the amount of time that he's going to be missing, particularly the fullback spot where you really want to have 2 keeper type options. Tua Picky, I think, is a good trade out. Particularly, there is some nice cheap options at centre wing that you could bring in. I guess also if you have the money, there's plenty of great options you can go up to too. So, yep, Tua Picky, definitely one you can cut. Payne Haas, we've talked about. Yep, chop him. Pierre Cora, I think, is another one you can trade out. Again, if you've got the dual position flexibility, which a lot of us do through Ben Travojevic, Jamin Salmon, you can go down to the cheaper sort of centre wing options that are available. I guess if you're also cutting Tino, you could potentially go up to a gun second row option if you save a bit of money in your front row. I guess people who are trading out Cleary free up some money in the halves. that's another potential avenue to upgrade Piakura. So out 3 to 4 weeks. And if he comes back in and it looks good, he'll still be cheap enough that we can get on after the money we've made from whoever else is in the team while he's out. Harry Grant at number 7, so can't agree with this one. Um, you should have a second hooker on your bench who won't be playing for the Storm, who can cover this week. And then obviously, Harry Grant will be back next week and you'll want him in the team. So, don't trade the guns out there on a buy. It's just silly. I know Appy Coruscant is a great option this week, but I wouldn't trade Grant. If anything, I'd trade your other hooker, even if you're like me and you just traded the Joey Lussick last week. I've seriously thought about bringing Appy in this week, but I am going in a different direction. Spoiler alert there. Mitchell Moses, yep, out for an extended period. You can absolutely cut him from the team. Danny Levi, so I'm guessing people getting off him go to Appy can get around that for sure. I think if you bring in Lussick, you may have missed the boat. He's made his 70k. With Moses out, that may limit his upside. But I guess we do have faith in Dylan Brown to do the job. So might not be the worst shout to hang on to Lussick. But I think if you can go from Levi up to Coruscant, I can green light that every day of the week. And given the amount of guns that are missing this week, that's probably what a lot of those trades are. And Jamin Salmon, so this is one I'm not sure about. I know his break even isn't great. It's a lot better in fantasy. He did start a little bit cheaper in fantasy, which helped. But I think at the moment he's actually a good enabler with the dual position swing. The fact he's actually playing is a bonus compared to a lot of the other options we've got. Um, so yeah, I guess unless you're trading him to a bottom dollar center wing, would be the only sort of justification I would suggest for that trade. But I think there's better options than Salmon to trade out. On the trade-ins list, Lockie Galvin at number 1. I think, rightly so. Looks really good. Bottom dollar. If he was playing round 1, he would have been in our starting teams. So, we've just waited until round 4 to get a price rise out of a Cole Flanagan, for example, and we'll take the extra money that's going to come from Lockie Galvin. Appy Coruscant number 2. I think this is the cheapest he's going to be all season. So this is the best time to get on. The only sort of argument against is if you've got other positions that need tidying up first. I think if you do the numbers, I think, between him and Lussick, Coruscant is only due to make, a few extra dollars. Um, so, if you're like me and you've got Lussick, you can wait a week and you won't lose that much value, assuming they score something similar. Obviously, if you think Coruscant is going to, go off again like he did last week for the Tigers against the Sharks, well, then you might want to get on. So, I wouldn't begrudge anyone getting on Appy, but I think there's better options this week. And you can wait a week if you are wanting to get Appy um, and, fix up other parts of your team first. Adam Fanua Blake, so I guess the obvious choice to replace Tino or Payne Haas in the front row. Um, And yeah, again, I did rate Tom Flegler as a slightly better value as a trading option this week, but I can see why people would want to bring in Fanua Blake, and yeah, definitely wouldn't talk you out of it. But I guess for me, I'd go a different direction. James Tedesco at number 4, so definitely, still the best option to trade in at fullback. Um, I think it'll be a slightly tougher time against Penrith, just because they've lost Nathan Cleary for a week at least. Um, their defence isn't going to go to water. It's the attack might be a little bit clunkier, but yeah, their defence will be fine, and they'll have a plan for Tedesco. So he might not pop off like he has, but then again, he absolutely could with the form he's in. So yeah, if you want to bring Tedesco in, It's probably a luxury this week, but treat yourself. So Luke Brooks is the sort of second option that I alluded to before. Probably a lot of people trading Cleary to Brooks with that dual position, and he is making a bit of money. I guess my only issue would be in a couple of weeks' time when Cleary's ready to come back in. Can you move Luke Brooks to your 5/8 position? If you've got like a Galvin who's making cash, and you've got maybe a Dylan Brown as your sort of starting 5/8, is there really room to move Brooks into that position? And then some people might say, well, Dylan Brown is a good chance of now getting dual position if he's going to be named at halfback for the next 3 weeks, and that would provide a nice little swing option. But then I guess you are limiting yourself from getting a Nico Hines when he comes back into form, that sort of thing. I know people might suggest that's a few weeks down the track, and it could end up being a sort of like for like in terms of the dollar value. Um, but yeah, I guess I can see why people are doing it, but maybe it's just my anti Luke Brooks bias. I don't know. I don't see it, but yeah, it's not the worst trade by any stretch, but I don't think it's the best option for that sort of position. Dom Young, so I think this is a bit of a knee jerk. People just trying to catch the quick cash. He's not going to score 150 every week. He's definitely not going to score 150 against the Panthers. I'll say that on the record. Um, I think there's probably at 640 he offers decent value, but there's probably better value players with a higher floor. One of which I think is the Hammer at number 7. So against the Titans this week, he could score 150 this week, given how ordinary the Titans were last week against the Bulldogs. Um, and yeah, he looked good against the Dragons 2 weeks ago. So he's got a really nice break even. Dual position is handy, but we usually run two gun fullbacks, so don't always necessarily use the fullback position. But yeah, definitely one on my radar for this week. Kai Pearce Paul. So I think probably if you are looking for a second rower, a straight swap for Brendan Piakura. I like it. Um, yeah, I guess if you're looking for a second rower, he is the best pick in my opinion. So I can get on board with that trade. Blaze Talani is obviously named in the six jumper, and the job security looks really good with Moses being out. But I would wait a week purely because you can. If you really want a bottom dollar centre winger this week, I'd go with the Tigers centre, Far Tape. Obviously, hasn't set the world on fire in the first 2 rounds, but with our centre wings, we're always just waiting for that spike game where they score a try, with a line break, and their value and their average shoots up. So I'd take the punt on Fa'atape this week. And then if Talangi looks good, he's my number one target for next week. Um, and yeah, I've already got a plan around how I'm going to use that. And Val Holmes at number 10. So, he's killing it so far. I think 816,000 is a lot to pay for a centre winger, given their natural volatility. I think, there's much better value available at the moment. But in terms of pure point scoring opportunity and that ceiling, you can't go past Val Holmes. And, you know, he's got the clean run to Origin. Surely he'll be in the Origin team. So, um, then you'll have to work out what to do with him. But I can see why people would want to get on. But we're chasing value at this time of year above pretty much all else. So those are the popular trade options. If we just have a look at the actual trades to see, yeah, Brooks to Cleary is number 4 on that list. So Coruscant to Cleary, some interesting dual positions to get to that, I would have thought. Maybe Tanner Boyd is in that conversation. But yeah, so Galvin to Tuapiki. So obviously Ethan Strange is a pretty nice swing if you've got him. Galvin to Walsh. So maybe they're some of the people who have KO Weeks as a fullback 5/8 swing option. Yeah, other than that, they also Tedesco to Tino. There's some interesting dual position going on there. Very handy if you can pull it off, and apparently 1,500 people can. But we'll have a look at the captaincy options. So again, this might not be updated because I am recording this on Wednesday afternoon, early evening even. If I go most popular captain, so Tom Travojevic at the top of the list at 11.8%. So playing against the Dragons makes a bit of sense. I obviously don't have turbo, so that's not an option for me. But Nico Hines against the Raiders, so I guess being coming off the back of what is one of his worst games that he's played as a Shark, um, and I think even Hines would sort of attest to that. But he seems like the sort of bloke who won't let it get him down too much, and he'll bounce back. So people might be trying to get off. He's lost 108k value, um, but we know what he's capable of. And with Cleary out, especially, I think he is the gun option in terms of our halfbacks and also in terms of our captaincy for this week. So quite a few people still with Nathan Cleary. Obviously, haven't traded him out yet. James Tedesco, I can see him as a vice captain option this week, playing in that first game for sure. I know some people do like the straight C option as well. So on the Thursday night game, get it out of the way, make your head-to-head opponent panic, that sort of thing. So yeah, if you're doing that with Teddy, I think that'll be okay. Val Holmes, so I guess if you've got him in the team, you probably back him in to score well. Um, the Broncos haven't been the worst. They are definitely missing Payne Haas and Reece Walsh, but I don't know if that affects their defensive structures too much. Um, but I guess Val Holmes, he's every chance of doing the job. I'll leave that. I don't know who that is. The Hammer. So we talked about how his potential to go off against the Titans, and I guess given it's later in the round, you probably can't quite swing the VC loophole. So you might just have to go for Gory and straight see him. But not the worst shout. Kalen Ponga, I guess, yep, if you've got him, he's always in the conversation. Bounced back with an 86 last week, so you would take that as a captaincy option. Latrell, I am scared that he will go well against the Bulldogs. Given it's the second game of the round, it could be more of a VC option. And, if you've got a Hines later in the round, or I was going to say Ponga, but you can't have him as the fullback. Maybe a Dylan Brown, Appy Coruscant. If you've got him, I think you could use that loophole. Speaking of which, Appy Coruscant, number 9, playing in the last game. So, the perfect sort of captaincy option for loopholing. And yeah, based on his average of 94, you would absolutely take that as a captain. And Ruben Garrick, I guess, along the lines of Tommy Travojevic, playing against the Dragons, potential to go big, but definitely more of a pod move. You can see RTS with his move to fullback at 2%, which is interesting. Drinkwater for Noah Blake, so Luke Brooks, another pod type option. And the most popular VCs, so Nico Hines' VC is number 1, Luke Brooks. So I guess maybe people trading him in for Cleary got to that point perhaps, I'm not sure. Tedesco's up there in the conversation, Turbo. So a lot of the same sort of faces, just in different orders. Sean Johnson, if you've got him, probably VC, although I thought the Warriors played later in the round, so maybe again you'll have to captain a Coruscant or something like that. Dom Young, a lot of people VCing him, hoping for another 150. Good luck to you, that's all I can say. So I guess to my team, and as I said, I'm pretty excited about the moves. And actually, I guess part of the reason why this is the case is we'll have a look. So obviously, we've got a couple of options around our centre wing and our second row. Like I guess we've got Harry Grant. We'd love to get to Appy, but as I've said, I think Appy's value relative to Lussick isn't going to get away this week. Front row, we're happy with for the time being. You know, they're not the biggest scorers. We've still got Hines. We're going to hold Cleary. That's fine. We've got Dylan Brown. And I guess the obvious move, which we'll get out of the way straight away, is Flanagan out, Galvin in. Frees up us a bit of cash. So we've got two gun fullbacks as well. So this is why I'm focusing on my centre wing and my second row. So these are the areas that we can look to improve. So I'll just complete that trade. If we have a look at the players, so and filter by position, we'll go second row. You'll see the top average is Zach Hosking, who is now playing off the bench for the Raiders. So you can pretty much put a line through him. You know, he's not really an 84 average player. After that, we've got Isaiah Yeo, who, you know, is crushing it, 77 average. And, you know, at 5.9% is a really nice point of difference option. Jermaine Hopgood, you know, averaging 71. And, you know, especially if this news around Bryce Cartwright is injured and you expect he won't play, that can only mean good things for Hopgood's minutes, because you'd imagine either Madison or Tuolungi would move onto the edge, and they'll probably just bring, you know, like another sort of forward that plays a few minutes onto the bench, and Hopgood can play all the minutes he wants. And then, you know, Wilton averaging 70. You know, he did have that boom game already. And then after that, you can see it falls away. It's like 66, 65, 64 average. If we fold in the centre wingers, so what we see is that Jermaine Hopgood, you know, falls all the way down to 10th. We've got in between him, or I guess, yeah. So before over Hopgood, we've got Val Holmes, obviously, averaging hundreds, insane. Isaac Tungo carving up, averaging 97. Ronaldo, you know, he had two massive weeks to start, so he's averaging 86. Lomax, you know, crushing it on the wing, averaging 83. Garrick, 82. Brian Toto averaging 73. And Jordan Rapana playing fullback, averaging, you know, 72. So what this tells me is that given the structure of my team currently, I'm really undercapitalised in the centre wing. So I've got RTS and then I've got a bunch of cheapies essentially. So what I want to do is I want to actually transfer some of this money from the second row into the centre wing. So what I'm thinking of doing is getting rid of Hosking, I should say, there's no S on the end. And also, if I boost, I'm going to get rid of Piakura. So Hosking, you know, you could hold for a week, he'll make a bit of cash. But what we want is we want both points and cash. Where are we going to get that? Hopefully from our centre wing. So Piakura as well is out for a while. So we can push Salmon and Burbo into our second row. And then we've got 1250k. So, you know, I guess if we get one of these big hitters, we then need to settle for a bit of a mid-range option. But if we have a look at the break evens, um, you know, the Hammer with a break even of 1, we can get him in, and we still have 650k. So, you know, that's sort of these sort of cut price keeper potential options. You know, we could go Dom Young, but as I've already said, he hasn't got the floor that we're chasing. So what we're going to do is go down a little bit with a break even of 22. Going to bring in Jacob Carraz. So, you know, we've talked about the Hammer already. Carraz is up against South, and, you know, South have not been impressive by any stretch. You know, it's one of those things, their form will turn around eventually. All I can hope is that it's one more week at least. And I think even if South do well, we know that Kiraz will run the ball a whole heap out of the backfield. He'll offload any chance he gets. So he does have that built-in base. But then obviously with his ability, you know, if you saw the try that he scored against the Titans, he basically carried Brian Kelly for about 10 metres just because he wanted it more. So now if we have Kiraz, we've got Kiraz RTS playing fullback, which is a pretty sweet little kicker. We've still got Tua Picky, but he's not going to lose value if he's injured and not playing. Um, so we'll bring the hammer in, and we've also got Bostock who could potentially go massive against the Titans. So straight away this back line is looking a lot more impressive. Admittedly, our second row doesn't look amazing, but we've already seen that if we sort of look at the best case scenarios, there's more points in our centre wing, and this is probably something I've always been a bit what's the word, not cautious, but always sort of overlooked is, and I guess as Supercoach has changed and there's been more points in the back line, I've always sort of looked at the forwards like your lock forwards, very NRL fantasy type approach with that solid base rather than the high ceiling. So I think this round presents me that perfect opportunity where I can shift and start to really load up in my centre wing. So those are the trades. So just to recap, Galvin in for Flanagan, and then using the dual positions, Hosking and Piakura out, Hammer and Kiraz in. So obviously we're not going with Fartape as a cheapie, but we do have Talangi next week, who is definitely on the radar. So Tua Picky to Talangi will give me 120k. Might not be enough to bridge the gap from Lussick to Appy. We don't really want to use a third trade boost, but we'll just see how things pan out. No need to panic yet. All right, but then I guess in terms of how the team will line up this week, Lussick's got to come in. With Grant out, we'll probably just get Henry in. Um, Although we may not need Henry, but just in case we do. Um, so, we could potentially play all of these guys. You know, Salmon Current kick out against Souths, Smithies Burbo against Dragons. So Hines obviously is captain. Galvin we need to get in so he can have Pap's spot on the bench. So then, yeah, it's just maybe it comes down to a question of Henry with the base or Hutchinson, who might have a bit more attack against Souths. You know, leaning towards Henry at this point. It might even be Salmon that misses out based on averages. Um, so yes, I guess a VC and C. So Tedesco in the first game, obvious VC shout. And as I said, I'm backing Hines in to bounce back against the Raiders. So I think I'm happy to have him as captain. Um, yeah, so then I guess just any other shuffling around. Probably the Bulldogs are playing first. So if I am going to go with Salmon, I'll play him. Henry's playing in the first game. And so is May. So I might have to actually lock in Henry early and have Cotter on the bench. Um, yeah, that's fine. That's all fine. So yeah, it could just be a decision of if I want to play Salmon or Hutchinson. Um, and I mean, I think I'm going to back Salmon in. There, I said it. So yeah, so there's the team for this week. Super quick preview of the matchups. So in the first league, I've got the Trini All Stars who look like they're missing a few. So Piacora, Tino, the three Storm boys. So got Galvin will come in, you'd imagine. I guess maybe Hutchinson, Salmon, Henry, which would just match with what I've got. Obviously, trades could happen too. So yeah, okay. Oh, so got Hutchinson at halfback already. So yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how they line up. If I go back to the matchups, got the Dragons Lair in the second one. So again, missing a few. Piakura, Tuapiki, and Cleary. So again, yeah, got a few of those covered. Got Flanagan, so I could imagine Galvin would find his way in here somewhere. And the third matchup is against Mow You Down. So, Paul's missing quite a few. No, Paul. Cleary out, Piacura out, Lucas, okay, loophole, fair. To a Picky out, Moses, oh, so both halfbacks out, Stitch up. Grant out, Pappenhausen, Chan all out. Wow. So be interesting to see what Paul does with the halfbacks of the situation there. Very interesting. And I guess draft as well, just quickly should cover the draft. So I think the only bit of action for myself was managed to jag Zach Labert off the free agency this morning. So that was a good win. With Pappenhausen out, I've just thrown Butcher on the flex. I'm actually going to get rid of Kara because I am scared that he's not going to play. And then, yeah, as you can see, Tedesco's VC. It doesn't need to be a strong VC score to loop him in, I think. With Pappenhausen can obviously drop in the flex spot. Actually, he can't because of Butcher. I need to switch that. Elliot, get up there. So Elliot will just drop out for Pappenhausen in that case. Or actually, I could do. Well, it doesn't really matter. Could do Caesar for Cleary. Would also work. But Marshall King is the backup against the Titans. Could do quite well for himself. So, and I'm up against Jaden with the pole in my house. So if we try to get a look at his team, so he's got Isaac Tungo, so that's what I'm definitely scared of. Cam Murray, decent. Tommy Dearden in the flex, could go okay. Jaden Campbell, so that'll be interesting to see how he goes this week back in the top grade. Tom Flegler and Avarillo, I don't mind those guys. And then Dylan Brown as captain could be quite good too. So pretty strong team. Projected to be slightly ahead of me this week. Excuse me. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. It could come down to captaincy and VC choices. So fantastic. I think the light's fading and yeah, definitely getting darker on the picture I can see. So I'll wrap the video up there, turn the lights on. So yeah, as always, if you've got any questions, comments, thoughts, feel free to add them below this video. Obviously, if you enjoy the SuperCoach content, give the videos a like, subscribe for all the fantasy sports content on the channel, and other than that, we'll catch you in the next one.